for joining us in this special conversation. The top management of Wipro, after reporting their fourth quarter earnings, I have the CEO, CFO, the head of HR, and of course the COO. Thank you all so much for joining us on ET Now. Amit, I want to start with you. Analysts are disappointed with revenues, with margins, but not altogether a surprise because the environment itself is like this. People expected a hit because of COVID. But what can you tell us about the demand environment? Is the next quarter looking worse compared to the fourth quarter? What are you hearing currently?
So, Chandra, first of all, thank you for having us on the show. And I think if you look at the quarter four, while we guided between 0 to 2% growth, not knowing all the uncertainties that the last 2 weeks of March would bring, our results are about 0.4% constant currency quarter-on-quarter growth. If you add back the about 0.7 to roughly about 0.6 to 0.8% of revenue loss that we had because of COVID directly, it comes to above the midpoint of our guided range. So from that perspective, I'm quite satisfied in terms of what we have executed in Q4. But definitely to answer your question, Q1 does look worse than Q4 because the full impact of COVID-related business disruption will play out in the April, May, June quarter. And while we are doing everything to stay close to the customers, ensuring employee safety and health, the demand environment in the near term doesn't look very promising. As I talked in the press conference, verticals like retail, travel and hospitality, we do a lot of work for airports and some work for airlines as well. That is not looking good at all. Certain retailers, except for food and grocery, retailers have shut down their stores due to the shelter in place or the local regulations in various jurisdictions. So that vertical doesn't look good. With where the oil prices have reached, the energy vertical doesn't look great. So there are definitely headwinds in a lot of consumer businesses. The manufacturing segment, especially where there are factory closures, actually more in the European manufacturing and auto segment, where both they're not only impacted by the demand side of their equation, but also on the supply chain as well. And that is why certain factories to continue to run may get impacted, not only because of employees, but because also of the raw materials that they need to run. So those are sectors where we do see headwinds, and they are not going to look pretty in Q1 for sure.
You also mentioned that you're already seeing cuts in budget, discretionary spend. Clients are sort of asking for discounts. What can you tell us about that? And is this going to sort of play out? Because we also heard something similar from Cognizant, which decided to withdraw their full year guidance. Today, you have decided to withdraw your quarterly guidance. We also heard Praveen Rao speaking to us about this last week, where he said we are already seeing discretionary cuts. So is this happening in the problem sectors that you mentioned? Is it across the board?
So it is definitely happening in the problem sectors where they are suspending spend altogether. In other sectors, we are seeing a much more measured response because the other sectors are getting impacted by the demand. Consumer confidence. Finally, the economy runs because consumers buy goods and services. And right now, when everybody is hunkered down in their homes, consumers are very careful about what they spend on. The unemployment numbers, as you must have seen in the US, are almost 17 million people in just a matter of few days. So all of that affects consumer confidence and consumer demand, which has an impact on the GDP. And hence, while I talked about certain sectors which are more impacted, almost every other sector is impacted as well. Even if you would assume that the healthcare sector, for example, hospitals should be doing more business, but that is not the case. Right here in US, for example, in Texas where I live, most hospitals have readied themselves for treating COVID patients, and they have cancelled all discretionary procedures and surgeries. And actually the occupancy of hospitals is much lower than normal today. So they are impacted as well. So we do see impact across other customers. I do believe that a lot of the secondary verticals where the impact has happened is more short term, and they want temporary relief. They want temporary suspension of discretionary spend. They want temporary discounts. They want certain extension of payment terms on a temporary basis so that they can tide over this crisis. And in the long term or the medium term, technology is the solution for a lot of efficiency, a lot of opportunity that clients, enterprises will have coming out of this crisis. And I think we are very well positioned in the medium term to be able to make the most out of those opportunities that come out.
Right. Jatin, if I can just come to you, on the face of it, if you look at the Indian rupee, the way it's fallen against other currencies, it would, seem beneficial for an export-oriented sector like IT. But we saw margin impact this quarter because of cross currency. Will this continue in the next quarter as well? Because what's the outlook as far as margins are concerned? Do you see any benefit from the rupee fall at all coming for Wipro?
Sure, Chandra. So why we did have impact on our dollar realization, which is reported versus constant currency growth of 1.4% adverse. But on margins, we had a benefit of about 0.4% because of the weaker rupee compared to dollar. I told in my opening comments that our realization was 73.95 versus 72.09 in quarter four compared to quarter three. So we did have a benefit coming from forex. What impacted margins in the current quarter is largely that some of our operations in business process services side, in couple of our acquisitions in Europe, where revenue literally froze in March because of COVID and related demand issues, but we weren't able to take the cost actions fast enough. And this businesses actually impacted margins adversely for the quarter. If you see our global IT business, and we shared this in data sheet, our performance has been rather, I would say, quite good given the quarter. Our utilizations have improved by upwards of 3%, and we have improved our offshore ratio in quarter by about 1.4%. So overall execution was quite good on IT business side, where we could control outcomes better than couple of 2 or 3 these areas where we had to wait. We'll have to take action as we go, and we couldn't complete those actions within the quarter 4.
Right. Bhanu, if I can just come to you, Abid mentioned some of these problem sectors, but I'm also hearing some positive commentary from people who say have a higher exposure to healthcare and life sciences about how they're working with, clients or pharma companies who are finding vaccines or, doing clinical data management. Take us through the opportunities that Wipro sees here. I mean, we've had a string of negative news, but is there something positive there as far as the healthcare, the life sciences space is concerned? Are you working with clients here? Because, this is an opportunity that companies had during the financial crisis, where they got a lot of banking and financial services work post the crisis after a period of uncertainty. Do you see an opportunity here for Wipro to capitalize in the healthcare and life sciences space?
Yeah, so Chandra, while there's a lot of doom and gloom noise that you hear, you also see a lot of things which are very different in nature, right? While the human tragedy needs to be worried about, right? There are things that the organizations are doing which are very different right now. For example, for somebody like Wipro, that way we help our customers. The first and foremost thing is that a lot of our customers want continuity of business for their services, which they offer. So there's a great amount of opportunity on helping customers to go to do work from home, right? To be able to ensure that their employees are safe and they can deliver services to their end consumers. So that's the first set of opportunity. And we have great amount of solutions on that in terms of actually enabling those services. And that is cross sector, right? It's applicable across the sector. It's very horizontal in nature. The second set of opportunities that we see are because of the current lockdown and the crises that are occurring across the globe right now, there are some specific problems which need to be resolved. Like, for example, for financial institutions which want to take advantage of the fiscal stimulus that is being announced by various governments, and they need to introduce products into their market. So you need to build systems for them very quickly. So there are things that we have done for some of our customers in as short a period of time as 48 hours to help them build new products and deliver to the take to the markets. So that's the second set of opportunities that we are seeing, right? You have seen all the conversations about how to help. Let's say one of our customers helps nursing homes. How do you help them find the right location, right, the distribution methods, and so on and so forth. So there's a second set of opportunities which are arising because of the current crisis that is there, and some organizations need to deliver some services. The third set of opportunities are coming, which again is across the sectors right now, is in terms of looking at how do those organizations want to come out after COVID, right? How do they become stronger? So a lot of customers are asking questions to us about, hey, what kind of things that I could do so that I can become stronger in my sector, so that I can deliver better post-COVID. So there's a good set of consulting and hence new opportunities that emerge out of those activities. So we see opportunities across the three, right? Obviously, the speed depends upon the nature of the geography and where how fast the recovery could happen.
Right. Saurabh, if I can come to you, one question that everybody is worried about, including those of us in the media's jobs. So, what update can we expect with respect to onboarding of freshers? Are we going to look at, some job cuts, salary cuts? What have you decided at this point? Some organizations have already started cutting salaries for those in senior bands. How are you going to look at it? Because, Abid did mention, I think, during the press conference about how there is going to be an increase in working capital that, he anticipates. So, what's going to happen on these fronts?
Yeah, Chandra. So given the fluidity in the business outlook, as you have heard, that we are not giving guidance, obviously there is pressure on, to look at the cost structures and how we can see what needs to be done. So very clearly, all additions to cost which were coming planned in quarter one. Traditionally, we have our annual merit salary increases, our promotions for junior people, all this will get deferred. We are not planning to do it in quarter one, and depending on how the business evolves, we'll take a call on that. That's one. Second is, we will honor all our commitments of offers which we have made on campuses. However, we will onboard them at a later date. We are not clear when, but we will not be able to onboard.
How many offers would these be, Saurabh? Any numbers that you can share?
As we had called out, we had done a sizable amount of numbers. We don't give the exact numbers there, but irrespective of the numbers, the point is that we will honor. It could get delayed. It will see how things are happening. We will look at that. But I want to give the comfort, and that's not only for technical campuses, MBAs, everywhere we will do that, but it will be over a period of time and not happen in quarter one. So very clearly, as of now, we are looking at things which we cannot add cost to. Second is existing cost structures. We are looking at how do we look at subcontracting, how do we look at our vendors, how do we, as we are getting pushed on price cuts, how do we look at right sizing our bench and reducing our intake of hiring on a day-to-day basis. So all these will manage our pyramid, our bench size, our people costs. And eventually, if things don't work out and we have to have the severe this pandemic continues, we will look at furloughs and stuff like that, which we need to do. So there are different stages in which we'll have to go through it, but it will evolve as we move along, Chandra. That's the way I see it.
Right. Abid, I was reading a story a couple of days back about Bob Iger of Disney. So he had announced plans to move on, but now he's come back to run Disney because he says, what? I know this company better than anyone else, so Disney needs me, so I'm going to be here. I'm not going to resign or quit for now. Do you have some similar plans on those lines? Should I, will I see you after the first quarter as well?
No, Chandra. I'm very comfortable that I'm leaving a very strong company, and it is I remember we announced my stepping down on 31st of January. That time we did not know about COVID. And the largest part of the crisis, which was the business continuity, moving 165,000 people globally working from home with desktops. We have a transport that transports people. We transported desktops because we don't have 165,000 laptops. And while we were doing that, curfews got imposed, shelter in home happened, and our teams came together. I'm so humbled to look at how the entire Wipro team came together. All our leadership came together. So I feel very comfortable that the company I'm leaving is very strong in terms of customer relationships. We have the highest ever customer satisfaction that we've had. We've earned the trust of the customers by ensuring business continuity. Our teams have come together very well. So I am not having second thoughts. Rather, we are, Saurabh will update you. We are well on our way.
Any regrets that you have, Abid, on any unfinished business that perhaps, or a target that you had that you perhaps wish that you had completed?
See, it's a transformation of any organization is a journey. So if any day you think your journey is finished, you'd be wrong. So there's a lot of unfinished things, and I'm sure that my successor and the team that I'm leaving behind is going to be able to work on it and actually bring new ideas to do it even better. So I feel very good about the strong foundation and leadership that I'm leaving. And I think we are poised, our best days are yet to come to that.
Right. Saurabh, are we going to see an internal candidate, external candidate? Are you going to hire a search firm? By when can we see a new CEO?
Chandra, we are very clear. We announced it earlier itself. We are looking at an external candidate. We are well into the search process, which has been triggered by the board, the nominations committee looking at it. Egon's entered the search firm, which is helping us in that exercise. It's the process is completely on track. It has not got delayed because of the pandemic, and we should be in a position to announce the new CEO in this quarter itself.
This quarter. So are we looking at, May or?
Now, don't ask me a date that I will. Everything I've given you now. You want a date and time that I have to give you
Also the
later.
name.
Only date, time, and name is left.
On that note, thank you all so much for joining us, and I just want to wish all of you very good health. Stay safe, take care, and thank you again for joining us on ET Now for this management interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful to speak.
Stay safe.
And stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Very much.